in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hola hippies en todo el mundo. This is John Konapak, aka Dr. Woody, among other things, other times, other places. I'm a citizen journalist living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and today I am clambering atop the symbolic soapbox on a matter of, I think, some importance regarding redeveloping, actually even rehabilitating, a practical definition of, that is to say, how we may better understand the condition of education. What got me thinking about it, again, and I think about it a lot, was the other week a group of students in Detroit, I think it was, went out on a demonstration protesting in the language of the press reports of the event that they weren't getting an education, not a good education. The probable objective truth of, and my sympathy for that sentiment, was obscured and somewhat mitigated by the trope by which their complaint was framed, by both the aggrieved kids themselves and the press reporting it. The whole process we call education, in my humble opinion, took a wrong turn when it came to become something one gets, unless it's the way one gets a joke by being the butt of it. And I don't think that's what they meant. This is an example of the importance of what George Lakoff refers to as framing an issue, and I detest how the idea, now the dominant frame around the subject, that anyone, that a student or child or anyone, gets an education. That's not how it works. Maybe not how it should work anyway. You don't get an education. You don't just pick an education up from school like you would be picking up a loaf of bread and a half a rack of beer and a pack of condoms at the Stop and Shop on your way home. Becoming educated means becoming fluent in the understanding and interpretation, even the creation sometimes, of knowledge in some sphere of human endeavor. I used to hear similar complaints when I taught undergraduates. What these students had not learned somehow was that, unlike the schools they were used to, the university is a place where knowledge is actually made. They use other words for it there, like discover and invent and prove and such. But it's all about making new knowledge. People working in colleges and universities weren't even there primarily to teach until about 150 years ago. And they're not there now primarily to teach. They're there to make and test new knowledge. One goes to college or the university to learn how to make new knowledge in whatever discipline it is to which one attaches oneself. They don't call them disciplines for the fun of it, you know. There are always rules. The rules, of course, vary, but there are always overarching principles which one must learn and master, even if it's only to deconstruct them later. The underlying principle of a college education, of any education really, but of a college education in particular, is that the trained mind is of use no matter to what task it is set. So you and I, we go to the university to train our minds in the handling of the materials of thought first, those things which knowledge is made of, like words and discourses and formulae and theories and taxonomies and other texts, of course, too. Frank Smith, an eclectic education scholar in the 80s and 90s whom I admire, wrote a book in which he listed all of the nearly 100 terms that are cognates of to think in English, one way or another. Think about it. Ponder, cogitate, ruminate, cerebrate, evaluate, consider, judge, contemplate. You and I, we could go on. In higher education, the point is to get your hands dirty in that sloppy mess, that ideational goop, like getting the wood chips from a plane all over you or the sparks from a cutting torch. You get them on you. You get them all over you. It gets in your hair and under your nails and in your clothes, but mainly it gets in your head. You handle the material, and then, in the company of people who are used to doing it, by watching them, you begin to learn to make your own tools with which to manipulate those materials that are your sum and substance, to shape them and to form them and to use them in new but also in conventional ways. And that's an education, and you didn't get it like a tube of mascara or a pair of jeans It wasn't passed to you over the counter. You actually participate in it. You build it. You make it. It bears your stamp. They are your tools. You made them and know how to use them. Now, what ends you eventually apply those tools, that's pretty much a matter of sheer luck. But if you did your education right, you'll probably be ready for a lot of different challenges, a veritable and infinitely tempting plethora of possible paths and pursuits. Why, just look at me, hippies, down here at the beach. Pause.